Siege warfare was a medieval military operation involving surrounding and blockading of a town, castle, or fortress by an army in an attempt to capture it. To lay siege or to besiege. The term derives from the Middle English word siege from the Old French meaning blockade. The medieval times were an extremely violent era in history, featuring battles in both Europe and the Holy Land when the Crusades and the Crusaders who fought them were numerous. The quest for power led to invasions of lands, territories, which had to be fought for. Medieval times was the era when great castles were built, acting as a power for the bases of the lords, the kings, and the knights. A new type of warfare called siege warfare was waged to win a castle or a walled town or city. Medieval siege warfare was a frequent occurrence during the Middle Ages. Medieval siege warfare was also called on for a variety of different siege weapons and siege engines. An important requirement to ensure a successful invasion was to capture the enemy's base, their towns, fortresses, or castles were all placed under siege. Medieval siege warfare was essential to victory. There were more medieval sieges than there were pitched battles during medieval times.
Siege warfare from the defender's perspective. Medieval siege warfare time a responsible and specific amount of time was allowed for truce or surrender conditions to be considered. This ranged from 7 to 40 days. The shorter time period was most commonly allowed because of the problems caused by feudal envy. Medieval siege warfare, honorable surrender. An honorable surrender had to be negotiated before the start of hostilities. Medieval siege warfare, safe conduct. Castle inhabitants could leave the castle unharmed. Weapons, often terms, would allow inhabitants to retain their weapons. A Mongol was a type of catapult or siege engine used in medieval periods to project at a castle's walls to destroy it. A Mongol had poorer accuracy than a trebuchet, which was introduced later shortly before the discovery and widespread usage of gunpowder.
The Roman siege engine that was a type of catapult that uses a torsional force, generally from twisted rope, to store energy from the shot. The auger consists of a large frame placed on the ground to whose front and a vertical frame of solid timber was rigidly fixed. A vertical spoke that passed through a rope bundle fastened to the frame had a sling attached which contained a projectile. To fire it, the spoke or arm was forced down against the tension of twisted ropes or other springs by a windlass and then suddenly released. As the sling swung outwards, one end would release as with a staff sling and the projectile would be hurled forward. The arm would then be caught by a padded beam or bed when it could be wrenched back again. The auger's framework is made out of two beams from oak, which curves in two humps. In the middle, they have quite large holes in them, in which strong sinew ropes are stretched and twisted. A long arm is then inserted between the bundle of rope, and its end it has a pin and a pouch. It strikes on a huge buffer with a stuff with fine chaff and secured by. When it comes to combat, a round stone often clay balls with combustible substance in them, which explode on impact and burst into flames. Is put in the pouch and the arm and is wrenched down. Then the master's artilleryman strikes the pin with a hammer, and then with a big blow, the stone is launched towards its target. The Arnauts, how do you say that, of the Roman Empire were mainly used for besieging forts or settlements. They would often be armed with large stones that could be covered with a combustible substance and set alight. They could be outranged by battles.
A siege tower or breaching tower, or in the Middle Ages, a belfry, is a specialized siege engine, constructed to protect assailants and ladders while approaching the defensive walls of a fortification. The tower was often rectangular with 4 wheels, with its height roughly equal to that of the wall, or sometimes even higher, to allow archers to stand on top of the tower and shoot into the fortification. Because the towers were wooden and thus flammable, they had to have some non-flammable covering of iron or fresh animal skins. Used since the 11th century BC, taking considerable time to construct, siege towers were mainly built on the siege site of the siege. Built in the defense of the opposing fortification, could not be overcome by lighter assaults, or mining or breaking the walls. The siege towers sometimes used house spearmen, pikemen, and swordsmen, archers, or crossbowmen who shot arrows or spears at the defenders. Because of the size of the tower, it often be the first target of large stone catapults, but it had its own projectiles with which to retaliate. Siege towers were used to get troops over the enemy wall. When a siege tower was near a wall, it would drop its gangplank, which would hook onto the wall and grab it. Troops could then rush the wall into the castle or city.
A trebuchet is a type of siege engine most frequently used in the Middle Ages. It is sometimes called a counterweight trebuchet or a counterpose, or to distinguish it from an earlier weapon called a traction trebuchet, where men pulling ropes provided the power. The counterweight trebuchet appeared in both Christian and Muslim lands around the Mediterranean in the 12th century. It could fling projectiles weighing up to 90 kilograms, which is 200 pounds, at or into enemy fortifications up to 300 meters. Its use continued into the 15th century, well after the introduction of gunpowder.
Medieval siege weapons. Brandon Thomas.
Mason Morrell.
Johnny McFadden.
Cody Scriven.
Go.
Ashley Dominguez.
All right.